Michiganders are dying at a higher rate every year from drug overdoses. The Michigan Prescription Drug and Opiate Abuse Task Force called the situation here a heroin crisis in their 2015 report.
The CDC noted significant increases in Michigan overdose deaths from 2014 to 2015. It's a crisis one Michigan mother and daughter found themselves in, a fight for life spanning 7 years of intense struggle, heartache, and unexpected redemption. An all-consuming love. For single mom Katie Donovan, it arrived right along with her daughter, Brittany.
My mom is my best friend. She's always been my best friend since I was born.
Happy-go-lucky, she would bounce into a room and just light it up. And I was that normal PTA mom and the brownie leader, and I even taught our catechism class.
But I was a good kid. I was on an honor roll. I played every sport.
Brittany grew into a big sister when her mom married and had a second daughter, Brooke. And she learned to adapt as Katie's climb up the corporate ladder led her to multiple elementary schools. Eventually, this upper middle class Macomb Township neighborhood.
I became this kind of chameleon. Like whatever you liked, I liked.
The well-practiced chameleon blended right in when using prescription drugs became a high school pastime.
At first it was fun to take a pill with my friends. It was fun to do a line of cocaine here and there.
You know, we taught our kids about drugs. We taught her about alcohol. I never even knew that I needed to teach her about prescription drugs.
Soon, Brittany and her hockey team boyfriend made a habit of using Vicodin prescribed by a doctor for his back pain.
What I saw was my daughter becoming a different person, isolated herself, very angry.
Katie couldn't reach Brittany. She tried therapy, grounding, nothing worked. At 18, Brittany moved in with her boyfriend, who one day suggested she do a line of what he said was Vicodin.
And it made me feel good, really good. I mean, that was the first time that I think I ever really, truly loved something. With every fiber of my being, I fell in love with it.
More than you loved your mom, more
Everything,
than you loved
more than
anything.
I loved my mom, my little sister, who was my world.
She found out later he lied. She'd just fallen in love with something much stronger than Vicodin. He had given her heroin.
And that was the first time I really felt betrayal. Heroin to me was someone, someone that did heroin was someone that lived on the street corner. It wasn't, the all-American girl.
I didn't cry. It was almost, went into fix-it mode. Remain calm. Okay, we can do this. We got this. I'll make some phone calls. We'll get you into treatment.
You thought it was that simple?
Thought it was that simple.
Within 6 months, Brittany was an IV heroin addict on a downward spiral that would take her to 17 different treatment centers in 4 states over 7 years.
I obsessed over it, and I would do anything for it, whether it was, we used to steal baby formula and sell it back to stores in Detroit.
But Brittany's drug use led her here, living in this abandoned house on Detroit's east side, without any windows, no front door, no running water, no heat, even in the middle of winter. It's called a trap house or a drug house. For Brittany, it was the ideal situation, living where her heroin was sold so she could get a quick fix.
Cockroaches and rats everywhere, with other people that don't shower and are using drugs and have hepatitis C and are stealing and lying and manipulating, and my disease told me that was okay.
And put her in life-threatening situations.
I hear, "Hey, Snow Bunny," and I'm in the middle of Detroit, the worst parts of Detroit. I immediately knew something bad was going to happen. And I took one step forward, and I was pulled down by my hair, and I was dragged into a field nearby and raped. And it was pouring rain, and when I finally came to, because I was knocked out, when I finally came to, the first thing I could think about was I want to get high.
Not that I was raped.
Not that I was raped, or that I need help because I can barely walk and I have bruises all over me and I'm gushing blood.
Many times throughout her active addiction, she would just come crying to me, "Mom, please help me. This isn't who I'm supposed to be." And as a parent, you don't know how to make it stop. I wanted to take her pain.
There were multiple overdoses.
We were mentally preparing for her funeral.
Death never scared me.
At one point in a week, Brittany was given naloxone, the drug that reverses the effects of an opiate overdose 12 times. She attempted suicide repeatedly.
When I would overdose, I would almost feel a sense of peace. And I would get mad when I would wake up.
I think I became as sick as she was. I became addicted to her. But what are you supposed to do as a parent, right? Your child's sick. You don't abandon them.
Katie says she knows now she enabled Brittany's addiction. When Katie started to change her ways, so did Brittany.
And I told her, I am done. And I don't mean with the love. I mean with money, with bailing you out of every situation.
Tough love led Katie to call the police on her own daughter, resulting in Brittany's arrest, facing 3 counts of felony drug possession. The threat of prison finally woke her up.
I was standing in front of that judge, and, you know, I spent, 10 days in jail, and I was terrified the whole time. And the thought of being in prison for another 2 years scared me.
But this time, the shot Brittany craved would lead her toward life. Thanks to a judge's compassion, she got probation.
She was going to give me a chance, and she did, and I ran with it.
Katie by her side, they now share their story.
And together we now save lives.
We're the mother-daughter duo.
Yes.
I tell my story, and I keep it fresh so that I know how bad it got.
A mother, a daughter, an all-consuming love.
I don't want people to feel alone, because my story is your story.
Hearts filled with the hope of sobriety.
Brittany is now 25 years old, 2 years sober, and we have to commend them for their bravery and sharing their story. There is so much stigma around addiction. They have now authored a blog. It's called A Mother's Addiction Journey. And just in less than a year, it's had more than 3.2 million views, and it has been seen in 146 countries. Just so many people reaching out to them and appreciating their story.
A lot of people may want to read more about the story. We have a link to their blog on our website, plus our raw interviews with Katie and Brittany over at NBC25news.com. And I understand we'll hear more from Katie and Brittany tomorrow.
We will. It will be over on Fox 66 News at 10. We will continue Katie and Brittany's addiction journey by sharing how they're helping others beat addiction through a new program. It's called Hope, Not Handcuffs.
I'm more proud of her for being so strong, to fight every day, to stay clean. I'm more proud of her for doing that than if she would have gotten a PhD.
Last night on our sister station, NBC 25 News at 11, they introduced you to a Michigan mother and daughter who shared their journey of addiction and recovery. Katie Donovan has been by her daughter Brittany Sherfield's side through it all. Brittany is now 25 years old and 2 years sober. Their struggle with addiction is a Michigan story as the state is experiencing a heroin crisis. Fox 66 anchor Sadie Hughes joining us now to continue their story, sharing how they've taken Brittany's success in sobriety and are now sharing it with others.
Bill, Brittany and Katie know that addicts in Michigan need all the help they can get. The Michigan Department of Health and Human Services preliminary data for 2015 shows 844 overdose deaths from opiates. Now that includes prescription painkillers like Vicodin, codeine, and methadone. MDHHS also notes 644 deaths from heroin in 2015. Katie and Brittany are now working to change those numbers through their support of an initiative called Hope, Not Handcuffs.
Hope. Katie Donovan never let go.
But you never give up on your kids.
Her daughter Brittany handcuffed by addiction. It started with prescription painkillers at 17, then escalated to heroin.
There was nothing I wouldn't do for the drug to just make those withdrawals go away. I just wanted to feel better.
It took 17 treatment centers in 4 different states over 7 years before facing jail time was enough to scare Brittany toward sobriety. Katie struggled through it all alongside her daughter.
You don't know what to do. And I know there's millions of families out there who feel the same way. and I just want to help them.
The problem is so large in Michigan, the governor appointed a prescription drug and opiate abuse task force. In their 2015 report, they found Michigan hospitalizations involving opioids more than doubled from 2000 to 2011. The same report concluded that the surge in heroin use and addiction is closely linked to the growing prescription drug epidemic.
This disease affects everybody. I've been in treatment with lawyers, doctors, and then people that have been homeless their entire lives.
Judge Linda Davis runs a drug court and is the president of the Macomb County Families Against Narcotics, or FAN.
I think this is one of the worst health crises that we've ever experienced in the United States, and yet we are moving so slowly at doing anything to resolve it.
Judge Davis, Brittany, and Katie, all part of FAN, part of a new initiative working with the Sheriff's Department to save lives.
We haven't been able to arrest our way out of this problem.
Macomb County Sheriff Anthony Wickersham says they receive 4 to 5 911 calls related to an overdose every day. They've tried enforcement. They've tried educating the community. So now the Sheriff's Department, along with every other police department in the county, is opening their doors to addicts, a program that could inspire more police departments in Michigan. It's called HOPE, not handcuffs.
We've got to try something.
The program welcomes anyone struggling with addiction to walk into the Sheriff's Department and ask for help. Then they'll be put in touch with the treatment options available to them.
The last place an addict really thinks that they're going to get help is to walk into a police station.
Angels like Lisa Bosca are their first contact.
They just need to know that there's resources out there. A lot of them don't even know that.
And that angel will then do a pre-assessment and we'll find them a bed and treatment.
More than 250 people have signed up as angels to assist addicts coming into the program. Insurance will help cover treatment. If an addict doesn't have it, the program will help them get it. For Lisa, it's personal. Her son has battled addiction.
I just wanted to help them know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel for their children and for themselves.
Jason Mittler relates. He, like Lisa's son, like Brittany, is an addict.
I was keeping it a secret basically from everybody.
But while Brittany ended up homeless and jobless, Jason is a full-time Chrysler employee, once addicted to prescription drugs.
I was a very functional addict. I went to work 13 hours a day, 4 or 5 times a week.
He says reaching out to FAN and hearing from Katie saved him.
Well, I went through 10 years of not knowing that there's anybody out there to help. I don't want other people to suffer.
And as addicts find peace, the community finds its own redemption.
I know for a fact if we can get on out there and help these individuals and get them into treatment, our crime statistics will drop.
Hope.
I think that's really cool. I think it really is that so many people can come together as a community and really fight this epidemic.
Helping others break free from the handcuffs.
Do you feel like you've saved lives?
I hope I have.
The Hope Not Handcuffs program is modeled after one that started in Massachusetts. Now there are 160 similar programs around the country. A New England Journal of Medicine study found only 4% of people that sought treatment through those programs changed their minds. Now that study concluded this initiative is far more successful at placing people in recovery programs than hospital-based programs.
Powerful testimony. So the Macomb County program, Sadie, began in February. Have they had any addicts coming through the doors to take advantage of the program?
They have. In the first 17 days of the month, about 45 people have been placed in treatment so far.
So it's working.
So far, they're doing really well. You know, they said at first, Sadie, if we get one person, we think it's 17. A success.
You've covered a lot of territory over the past couple of days with resources on where the public can go to help. It's available on our websites, right?
That's right, WSMH.com.
All right, thank you.
This is Fox 66 News at 10.
All across the United States and here in Michigan, the opioid epidemic has devastating consequences for thousands, including the most vulnerable, our babies. The Michigan Prescription Drug and Opioid Abuse Task Force noted in their 2015 report that heroin use among women is up 100% in the past 10 years. The task force also noted that the surge in heroin use is leading to an increase in the number of women giving birth to babies with neonatal abstinence syndrome, or NASS. NAS, babies born withdrawing from opioids. Between 2000 and 2012, the number of American babies suffering from NAS has increased fivefold. And here in Michigan, MDHHS reported cases doubled between 2010 and 2014. Fox 66 News anchor Sadie Hughes joining us now in the studio to explain how this epidemic is impacting the littlest of lives.
Bill, they're babies born into a painful reality. They're not addicted to opiates, but are going through withdrawal. Some of their mothers use illicit drugs like heroin. Others abuse prescription opiates. Some moms simply need painkillers prescribed by their doctors during pregnancy. While not all of these babies will have NAS, they're all at risk. According to the CDC, in the U.S., a NAS baby comes into the world every 25 minutes. One Michigan father shares for the first time the impact this epidemic has had on his life and the life of his daughter, Abigail. It's a story you will only see on Fox 66.
Who's that?
That's Abigail Grace Ann Ayers Pavis.
This little one is infectious.
A little girl whose big name suits her personality. She became Christopher's daughter through adoption, and he says, Grace.
Tears started, flowing because it was like, okay, this is all happening.
He'd woken up a single guy and had gone to bed a single dad.
My heart it's like it exploded and it stopped and it was racing all at the same time.
At 5 months, Abigail is thriving, surrounded by love and comfort. And that comfort and love are a common thread, getting her through a painful start, withdrawing from drugs here at St. Joseph Mercy, Oakland, in the hospital's NICU.
She said, she'd been exposed to, some very unpleasant things.
The day Christopher learned he would become a father, he also learned Abigail was born with neonatal abstinence syndrome, NAS, an infant withdrawing from opiates.
It wasn't something I'd immediately have thought about because it's not something that's in my world.
Nothing could prepare him for what would happen next.
It was heartbreaking. Watching her shake. The tremors were uncontrollable and she would just scream out in pain. I would just sit with her, hold her, just keep telling her everything was going to be okay. Hold it together the best I could and walk out to the hallway and cry my eyes out.
Hal Learman is the director of the Cuddler program at the hospital. A group of volunteers started last year specifically to comfort NAS babies.
I remember sitting with her 5.5 hours, just rocking her. She's a blossoming little girl. And again, to have seen her suffer the way that she was.
Hal cuddled Abigail from birth. He was the person who first handed her to Christopher.
Not only, was I looking at the most amazing gift that I could ever have, but I was looking at the person that helped to protect her before I came into her world.
Christopher says Hal, along with an outstanding NICU staff, including neonatologist Amy Martin and nurse practitioner Donna Kelly, are what got him through Abigail's first days.
It was very insightful to be able to have, the education that they gave to me.
It's really hard to watch a baby go through basically withdrawal symptoms like an adult would have. It's extremely painful.
In severe cases, babies have seizures that can cause brain damage. If untreated, some die. Abigail was on morphine to help her through that, love, and cuddles.
I never left her side.
And eventually, after 14 days in the NICU, Abigail made the trip home with her father. But the fight wasn't over. About 2 more weeks of episodes awaited. She was lucky. Some babies can experience withdrawal for months after leaving the hospital.
Thank God we are in an amazing situation where she's doing absolutely spectacular.
If in a loving and nurturing home, these babies are beautiful babies like Abigail. They turn out just fine. This is a short-term outcome.
And greeting the team members who saved her, Abigail's infectious smile shows she's turned out more than just fine.
It was a wonderful, beautiful moment.
A baby bringing lives together.
You're our success stories.
I want her to be very proud of where she came from. I want her to know it from me. I want her to know that she's one of the strongest people out there.
A little girl already living up to her great big name.
You show them who you are? Say, I'm being Abigail Grace. Say, yes, I'm such a big girl. I'm such a big girl.
Precious, absolutely precious. As difficult as some scenes were in there to accept, are there any long-term effects from this?
Now, Dr. Martin says that there are, in fact, some behavioral issues that could happen and developmental delays as well. She also says there's an increased risk of addiction later in life. But she added that if a baby is raised in a loving and nurturing environment, that risk of addiction is decreased.
Wow. You have more information and more to share on Abigail and Christopher's journey.
I do. Yes, Christopher really wants to help babies like Abigail, and that can start with helping the mothers of these babies. Tomorrow night, we'll explain what mothers can do to help make better outcomes for NAS babies.
Michigan babies are not safe from the state's opioid epidemic. In fact, they're part of it. It is called neonatal abstinence syndrome, or NAS, babies born withdrawing from opioids, either prescribed or illegal. Well, last night on this newscast, we introduced you to the struggles that Christopher and his 5-month-old daughter Abigail have gone through. Tonight, Fox 66 News anchor Sadie Hughes joins us to explain how a better shot at life is out there for these babies. Sadie?
Bill, the Michigan Health and Hospital Association Services Corporation tracks NAS cases by region. Mid-Michigan is part of Region 3, including counties like Genesee, Saginaw, Bay, and Midland. Data shows we have the second highest incidence out of all the regions in the state of babies born with NAS. This, as the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services says, NAS cases more than doubled in the state between 2010 and 2014. Now, the department says there is no evidence the numbers have declined in recent years, although data is not back yet. Now, Christopher and his daughter Abigail are on the front lines of the epidemic, and he is dedicated to helping these babies have the best possible outcomes. That starts with reaching out to their mothers. It's a story you'll only see on Fox 66. It's been 5 months since Abigail and a call from the adoption agency flipped Christopher Ayers' world.
She goes, oh, wait, what? Didn't I tell you? And I said, no. She said, yeah, she's here.
In just hours, he was at St. Joseph Mercy Oakland's NICU.
Scrubbed in. I couldn't remember anything they said to me when they said to scrub in. I'm like, I have no clue what you just said. Where's my baby?
Christopher became a father knowing his daughter was part of a growing epidemic in Michigan. Babies born withdrawing from opiate exposure in the womb, neonatal abstinence syndrome, or NAS. Abigail suffered with tremors, screaming, in pain.
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
You feel helpless, not being able to take that pain away from the baby.
It can take up to 4 days for test results revealing what substances a baby is withdrawing from. The key is for moms to disclose up front.
If they're on even just pain medications or even using illicit drugs, that it's really important that they make us aware of it, because we can help them through their pregnancy.
And help babies like Abigail, who might have gotten to where she is today, happy and healthy sooner. But doctors didn't have complete information.
We had to start over again. So of course that was a little bit of an emotional roller coaster.
The NIH says babies without NAS stay in the hospital about 2 days. Those with it stay closer to 17. Now, Abigail was in the hospital 14 days, but her episodes were not over with. Those would last another couple weeks.
It's opened my eyes to a completely different world and making sure that I can do anything I can to help educate people.
Doctors can prescribe methadone or Suboxone for mothers abusing prescription drugs or using illicit drugs like heroin. These drugs help with a mother's withdrawals, but will not stop babies like Abigail from withdrawing. They help in other ways.
It decreases the risk of premature birth. It decreases the risk of complications during pregnancy.
Karen Lukowski with Morningstar Adoption Center that united Christopher and Abigail says knowing what a mother has used in pregnancy can help adoptive parents care for NAS babies. Yet getting to the truth is complicated.
There absolutely is a stigma. A lot of times when women first come to us to explore direct consent adoption, they don't want to talk about, their use because they feel, shameful.
But mothers do have options. Abigail came into the world through the Safe Delivery of Newborns Act.
If she did not choose to do this safe delivery, I would not have her in my life.
The act applies to any baby less than 72 hours old. Mothers can leave their babies at emergency service providers, hospitals, fire departments, police departments, anonymously, no questions asked.
What she did will change so many lives.
Jack and Jill went up the hill.
For Christopher, that change started with a phone call.
It was like I was floating.
Now a father.
I still have that same feeling inside right now when it comes to her.
Abigail, his adored daughter.
Tough girl.
I can't stop looking at that gorgeous young child. She's beautiful. Are there resources out there for the mothers?
There are so many resources out there for the Mother's Bill in mid-Michigan, throughout the state of Michigan. There are a number of sites that can help women through their pregnancy, but also after they've delivered the baby. So we have a list of those resources on our website. That's WSMH.com.
Sadie, thank you so much.